Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, hands together. Put your hands together. I want to see it in the thing. Put your hands together for Omarosa. Put your in the thing. Put the thing. Clap the hands for the black woman. Put the claps in the thing. Omarosa, where you been, child?
Am I first? I thought Killer Mike was first.
I know, but he had a birthday on Monday. 420 is his actual birthday.
Wow.
So he's coming, ladies and gentlemen. But how you doing? Where you been? You done got married? I said Newman. I was like, wait, she's married. Oh shit!
I am very married. Very.
Congratulations. When did that happen?
We got married in 2017. I married the love of my life, Pastor John Allen Newman, and we live in Jacksonville, Florida. He pastors Mount Calvary Baptist Church, where he's been pastoring for 30 plus years. So
I love it. Congratulations. 2017, it might have been around that time the last time I've seen you. I tell people all the time, we spoke on panels together. We've been at many an event together. And when all of your thing was going down, I'm
but like, don't tell him too much. You started talking about the party and stuff. Don't tell him too much.
you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't. But
tell him everything.
But and child, I just, God bless you for being able to deal with the zeitgeist and all the things you've been through with, joining Trump and leaving Trump and all the things. But I like to bring perspective to the table. I'm not one of those that really, judge. I'm not a judge. Black folk, we like to judge. We like to put people out there and put them up on the cross. I like to get to the bottom and the root of things, especially when I know people or I meet people, right?
But Kenny, I'm built for this. You don't go into public life without having thick skin. I mean, I started in politics when I was very, very young. I entered the White House the first time in 1997. So, I have thick skin. 97, yeah.
Yeah, no, and you have a poker face too. I will say that in all the times I'm looking for you to squirm on these Meet the Press, all these national news shows, and you don't, I'm like, whoa, she's strong. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? I checked my.
Yeah, you're kind of.
Sounds nice.
I can hear you now, but you kind of went out a little bit. Your Wi-Fi seems a little blurry.
It's because of where we live in Jacksonville, the signal. I have the highest Wi-Fi you can get, and it's still sketchy. So,
okay,
but you can hear me now, right?
5G is blocking you. 5G is blocking all the greatness. I want to start here, and I'm speaking. This is a family meeting. I called the TKBS Nation in here, so we can have a family thing because I want to put some light on the situation. Like, we all know that you started, with your relationship with Donald Trump. When you were doing The Apprentice, right? The Apprentice was a hit show.
2003. That was a long.
2000. And so that was a very long time ago.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you started on this show. Wildly popular show, wildly successful show. And honestly, you were given credit even by Donald Trump for making him a little more interesting than he actually was. I don't know if you built the character behind the scenes, but he publicly said that about you. How was that in the beginning?
I was fresh out of Howard University. I was going to take over I was going to take over the world in my 20s, and I heard about this show where you could become a CEO of one of Trump's companies, and I applied, and there were 250,000 people who applied, Kenny, and because of my credentials and my personality and my background, they were very interested in the story of me growing up in the projects and all of that I had overcome from my father being murdered, my brother, that sort of thing. And so I got selected out of all of those people. And even back then, Donald Trump was very interesting. But I knew that it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so I took it. I mean, I went on that show, not just to win $1 million, but to take over TV. My whole goal was a little bigger. And, it happened. I mean, I did the show. The show was number one, amazing ratings, 30 million people. It was incredible.
Well, so let me come in there. Did you because I feel like the personality of people shines through when the light's the brightest. Now we know you're smart. We know you're intelligent. We know, but it came this I don't know. Like it it was like it was something that came out of the show that I don't know. I mean, you were
Kenny,
the villain.
I am tough. I'm a tough negotiator. I am. When you put $1 million on the table, as it was with The Apprentice, $1 million opportunity on the table, I just wasn't there to hand it to anybody else. I had so many incredible responsibilities, taking care of my family, student loans, all kinds of things. I said, I'm going to win this money. I'm going to make a name for myself. And I was unapologetic about it. But let me just tell you, there are so many African American women that when you decide to be tough and play the game, like,
and child,
become a seat.
But, I applaud you, one, for saying, I always say Black women save me. And it's because of the strength and because of the unapologetic ways I was raised and the love from a Black woman that was instilled in me that I was able to kind of see for myself who I was going to be, what I wanted, so forth and so on. That's why I could never really get mad at you, even when the Trump thing happened. And I'm going to explain that later. But while we're in the Apprentice phase, I never was really mad at you because I felt like that's what everybody's here to do on shows. I feel like you come to win. Now, mind you, the backstabbing and things that have happened, not with you, within other shows and these competition reality shows, it's kind of disappointing at times. I think you were very strong in your stance on that show. I have the question, though, from that strength, because of that relationship, after that, you went on to do multiple things. I mean, you made a lot of money being you. And I often tell people, if you're yourself long enough, they'll pay you to be you. Now, understanding that, though, when it's time for Trump to consider running, now this is pre-election, this is pre him actually becoming the president of the United States.
Uh-huh.
What was the mindset? Now, I think I know you well enough to say that you were thinking initially, how can I get in where I fit in and continue to amplify?
No. When he called me the first time, he was considering running before 2015. He had been thinking about running for years, and I had known him since 2003. He was going to run in 2008. He was going to run in 2012. I mean, this wasn't the first time that we had a conversation about him running for president.
Right.
When he called me in 2015 saying he was serious about running, he was very flattering. He said, "You're the only person I know who's ever worked in the White House that I'm close to. You could be very helpful to me. I'm going to run a campaign." Donald Trump was a Democrat, Kenny. A lot of people don't know that.
What? I forgot that.
Donald Trump was a Democrat when I
Wow.
He was. But he asked me to come and advise him. And I think it's important, if you come from the Shirley Chisholm School of Politics, no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent interests, that we advise people who are going to lead our country. And there are a lot of people who feel like there should be no African Americans advising Donald Trump. If there was ever a time when Donald Trump needed some logic, some common sense, and some guidance, it's now. And I just feel pandemic. People are dying. African Americans are dying at a higher rate, and there's nobody in there to advocate or fight for us. And we should never find ourselves in a position where we have no one fighting. I think about Martin Luther King when he went to go and fight for the Civil Rights Act. I mean, a lot of people said you should not go to the White House. You should not have that meeting. You should not have that photo op. But had he not gone, we would not have had the Civil Rights Act passed. But I got ahead of myself. Yes, Donald Trump called me in 2015 to advise him, and I answered the call.
Yeah, so you answered the call. You obviously have had a relationship with him at this point since 2003, which is, 12 years prior. Yeah. You clearly, in between that time have had a number of, interactions, business dealings, so forth and so on. You go and you start to advise him. Now, short of the things, grab him by the pussy, all the things that he was, being found out about him saying or doing to try to throw salt in his campaign. I don't remember him it was so much, but I don't remember him being so racist. And I want to clarify. Now, there obviously were things about his father. There were things about him in the past with the, Central Park Five, all those things. But the outward racist he is today, I didn't see that during the campaign, is my point. And with that point, I think that, he was adored by hip hop. He's in several songs. Kanye jumped out there early. Like, all these people were jumping out there. So you really don't know in the game of politics, which you learned in your book, Unhinged, what you're really getting into sometimes. You're breaking up, love. Say that one more time. It's going in and out. There you are. Okay. We're still here. Can you hear us? Yes. No, I don't think they can hear. They can't hear you. They're saying they can't hear you. Yeah, I can hear you now. I can't hear you now. Now I can hear you. God damn it, Florida. Florida needs to get their Wi-Fi together. Hello? Oh, man. Baller alert.
Can you hear me? I'm moving
There
around.
You go. Are you there?
Hey.
No, I can see you perfect. There you are, perfect.
Okay, I'll stay still.
Yeah, stay still, please. Now, I was saying, I'll just refresh. I was saying that, when Donald Trump first started running, he had a lot of things in the press prior to the Central Park 5. He took the ad out. His father was clearly, what he was. And you had those things, but as he's running for president, there were a lot of black people supporting him in the public eye. You were one of them. Kanye was one of them. You just said you met a lot of people through the 40/40 Club, et cetera, Jay-Z, da-da-da-da-da. That's where we were.
Yes. Was there a question? I lost my place.
Oh, no. It was basically like that was an interesting time because that's when he started his election. How did you feel being on his side when all those things started coming at him, from grab you by the you-know-what to all the other stuff that was happening?
Well, there were so many times when I was like, this is crazy, and I'm just going to jump ship. But then when I looked around and there were no other African-American women there to advise him on issues that were important to the black community, that's when I was like, you know what? Let me just try to steer him in the right directions. One of the first places that I took him, y'all will remember because it made headlines, was to a church in Detroit and to tour, the hardest hit areas of Detroit and to have him go to Flint so he could talk and feel the effects of what was happening with Flint water crisis. I mean, I took places that I felt that even with all the craziness going on in his life, black people were still suffering. And African Americans still needed somebody to fight for their issues. And having political experience that I had, I mean, I worked in the Clinton administration. I had to separate his personal stuff from the stuff that African Americans were going through. And so you always find yourself having to separate yourself from the candidate and the needs of the people. And that's where I was constantly struggling with, do I fight for my people or do I just jump ship and wash my hands of the whole situation? Believe me, if I'd have walked away, I'd have saved myself a lot of grief. Trust me.
Yeah, I almost wish you would have walked away because you have to fight for your people. And I think this is the thing about, I guess, as I look at the beginning of his administration, there were so many people leaving so fast. I mean, he would hire somebody, they'd piss him off, they'd be gone. And I'm thinking to myself, clearly, Ben Carson doesn't count, but you and Ben Carson were the only, black people in pocket. And I'm just like, okay, this is going nowhere fast. But then soon after you started, you stopped.
Yeah, I was there for a year, which in politics is equivalent to about 5 years.
Is it really?
Yes. In the White House with that type of intense pressure. And then I was getting it from both sides. I mean, I was getting people every day saying, you should quit. And then I had leaders in the African-American community saying, we need you. And so it was that constant tug of war. At the time, I was planning and fighting for HBCUs, for legislation to increase the funding. I was fighting for civil rights issues. I was fighting for issues on social justice with the Justice Department, fighting for equality with African Americans in the Army. I had so many things on my plate that I could have very easily walked away, but there was no one, and right now there was no one fighting for those issues. And I hear people who say, "Oh, you stayed that long for a check." Let me just clarify something. You don't go in the government to make money. Let me be crystal clear. You do not go to the U.S. government to make money. You go there because you want to make a difference, and that's why I was there. And so after Charlottesville, which everybody will remember, I made it very clear that I wanted to leave, and I wanted to make sure somebody was trained up to take over my job.
Right. But it seemed, you know how it can seem to people in general, especially us black folk. It would seem like, because he got rid of you, then you had these things to say, and there's no real track. No, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's what people would have jumped. They would jump to that.
I've heard that a lot, and again, everything I did was documented, so I think it's very clear that if you want to see my stance on those positions, I gave interviews. There were headlines. There was coverage. But let me just say this, because I think it's important to say this. It's so easy to throw rocks and criticism at people when they're in the arena. But I'm going to make a call to action today. Why don't you get in the arena? Why don't you run for office, run for school board, run for city council, and see if you can take the heat? Everyone that's throwing, shade or heat at me, I challenge you to be a leader in your community. Just step out there for 1 second and see if you can take the pressure.
I personally would run, but I'm a convicted felon. I do, however, lead in my community daily, and I feel you with that. But let me say something.
That wasn't for you, Kenny. But
no, I know, but I just wanted to make you laugh.
Who are on, online, and they talk a lot of talk, but they don't do the action.
Yeah, we're not worried about online.
In the fall, Kenny, it's important. In the fall, an election is about to come up. So all the energy that they're throwing at me, throw that at their vote, at organizing, at taking people to the polls, at making a difference, at lobbying, at writing letters, at calling your members. If they do that, then you can take back the White House.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And the one thing I want to come to your defense with is that we always talking shit about somebody. Like, as a people, I do it. Everybody does it. But we always talking shit when we don't know all the answers. Now, I'm not defending your relationship with Trump. Me personally, I wouldn't have done that. But you had a show. You made millions of dollars. You had a reason. People take jobs all the time fucking with people they don't fuck with. Doing things that, and I don't know you well enough to say you sacrifice your integrity, but I saw you playing a game, doing it the way you wanted to do it. And me personally, I never walked to Brooklyn for cheesecake. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not here to judge because I don't know. People don't know, and they make these assumptions that they know. And that's my only problem. We're not worried about this. When I said Omarosa's coming up, well, how you going? And what you think? And I'm like, okay, I can tell you one thing. I know my experience with her. Every time I had a panel with her, super dope. We laugh, fun, joke, talk shit. She's one of us. When I party, she parties with the before your marriage to the Reverend. Party, we had a great time. And now it's like, okay, I don't agree with Kanye. And I want to ask you your opinion on Kanye, but I don't agree with Kanye and what he's doing with Trump. But I just bought the new pair of Yeezys because it's a black man with a black business with black babies. And that's something that I don't know. It goes all over the place for me with people's opinions. So I really don't take that. I really do what I do from in here. But how do you feel about Kanye, by the way? I want to know. I need to know.
I can only talk about my interaction with Kanye. I know Kanye. I knew Kanye's mother, who was an incredible woman, an incredible educator. I love Donda West, and I miss her. And that's the Kanye I knew. I knew her before she passed in LA. And he was different when I knew him then, and when he wanted to get involved with the campaign, he did that, and it was an interesting thing because all I can speak about, like you just said, is the Kanye I knew in LA before his mother died, and he was an incredible person, and he still is an incredible person, and he has different views. Here's the one thing I want to.
He's a genius. Hold on. He's a genius.
He's a genius.
But why is he supporting Trump today?
Can I just say this? Can I say this? I'm an independent, so I don't have a dog in this fight.
Right.
I don't believe that African Americans should all be Democrats. So let me just caution you and say, I don't believe that we should be giving 99% of our vote to anybody because they take us for granted. That's just my position. I believe we need to have African Americans who are independents, African Americans who are in the Green Party, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. And so it is completely your prerogative what party you're in and what you support. But you have to stand in that. And so as an independent, I vote my interests. The things that are impacting my community, the Jacksonville community, the school systems here, the roads here, the way police treat us, that's what I fight for. And so I believe that people at home need to do the same thing. For their issues. And having political experience that I had, I mean, I worked in the Clinton administration. I had to separate his personal.
We had a great time. I know who you are from my dealings with you. I judge you on that. The friends you have might not be my friends, but that ain't got nothing to do with our relationship. And nor should it have anything to do with what's needed. And I think that's the point we're getting to now. We need, instead of talking shit all the time and going on Black Twitter and Instagram and talking shit, we need to do something. We need to figure out how to get these people in here to vote. We need to figure out how to get the people that have the money that can double down in the communities to spend said money instead of go on Instagram and become activists. I think that we have a bigger agenda here, and that's what I not only challenge you, but everybody listening. You know, it's cool to talk shit about everybody, but you're right. This year we have an election. This year, if that man goes one more day past, you know what I'm saying, November, whatever, we are in a fucking tailspin like never seen.
But we get so distracted tearing each other down that we lose focus on the main thing. And the main thing is taking back the White House. And so instead of fighting amongst ourselves and being divided, all this energy should be in mobilizing and galvanizing our community behind a candidate that we believe in, issues that we stand on, and a movement that will, in fact, get this man out of office. But I see so many people fighting amongst themselves that it opens up an opportunity for him to be reelected. And that just makes me really, really sad.
But I got a question. You're not voting for Trump.
Oh,
hello? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. No, I just, that was.
But I will say this. I want to say this. It's not guaranteed Biden has my vote unless he keeps his word and chooses an African-American woman as vice president. He said he was going to choose someone. Y'all know where I stand on Kamala Harris, and I'm not going to change my position. If he chooses a white man, I will have a problem with that, Kenny.
Yeah,
and I'm just going to say that publicly.
Okay, this is what we have to learn to do, Omarosa. And I'm with you. I hear you in spirit, but I don't hear you in not voting.
No. I always vote. No. Let me be clear. Going to vote. I don't want the assumption to be made is that the Democratic Party has a lock on our vote.
Well, that's the only other party.
That is an assumption that would be very, very dangerous.
But that's the only other party. Isn't that the only other party to vote for? I'm just saying in the whole scheme of things.
6, 7 different political parties. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me? There are 6 or 7 other political parties in our country.
But we can't. No. We can't confuse the people.
Let me be clear.
Omarosa,
but I don't want to get distracted. My focus is, let me just say this. It's not 100% guarantee and automatically has the Black vote unless he keeps his word to the African-American community. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into any more than that. But he made a commitment when African-Americans bailed him out in the primaries. And I think it's really, really important that he keeps his word. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna see what happens, but more importantly, we're gonna get out there and vote. And I do agree that we have to hold him responsible, but I don't agree that any other party doesn't have a chance. Any independents, anything of that nature, they don't have a chance. So I think it's Biden and whoever he picks.
don't
Biden.
take the black vote for granted. Is all I'm saying. This is my
No,
point.
I won't take it. I won't take it.
So folks don't misquote me.
Yeah.
Do not take the black vote for granted.
Okay.
That's my point.
But we cannot allow anything other than the Trump conversation and the Biden and who he chooses conversation be. But you know what I'm saying? Like, because I just feel like.
I agree.
Yeah, saying that there are other candidates confuses. No, there's no other fucking candidate. Like, there's no other candidate. But Biden, if Biden is the one, we have to roll. And I almost can guarantee you he's going to pick a black woman as his vice president.
You think so? Because he gave a statement this week that concerned me, Kenny.
He listen. If he does not pick a black woman, he has to pick a black man. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. I don't know who the black man or woman is going to be. I am not a wizard. I do not have a glass. No, but it's logical.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you. I got to get Killer Mike in here. You be safe.
Happy birthday, Killer Mike. Kenny,
yeah,
420. Talking to you.
Yeah, you too. And go forward. We'll definitely do this again on national television next time.
No problem.